Hi and welcome to the final stage of Roger's portrait. This week we're going to paint his woolen jacket. I'm going to share with you some of my brush techniques and movements to create the illusion of wool without even trying to paint wool. It's going to be a ton of fun. Hey, thank you very much for your company. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for everybody who's been subscribing. Look, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know the new videos when they're coming out, and that would be really fantastic. Hey, write me some comments, ask me some questions. I love reading them all and I will answer them. And if you've got any suggestions for any paintings you would like to see me do, please put them below as well. Hey, if you haven't been here before, I'm Michael, portrait artist from Perth, Western Australia, and I make these videos because I absolutely love sharing the art of oil painting, and in particular portraits, and how easy they are and how anybody can do them. I really hope you enjoy the video. So without further ado, let's have some quick close-ups of Roger's jacket so you can see what it's actually going to look like at the end, and then I'll see you on the easel.
Well, here we are on the easel. I'm just going to start cutting around his ear with the darkest brown that I've got. So I've mixed a bit of burnt umber with some of my Pyro Ruben, a red, and a little bit of ultramarine blue just to desaturate the brown. One thing I will say about painting a woolen jacket is we're not going to try and paint the fabric itself. We're just going to use the textures that we can get out of our brush, and you'll see that squashy movement that I'm doing and that twisting movement. And we're going to use the value shifts to actually create the illusion of texture, even though there's going to be none there. Now, just cutting in around his beard here, you'll see I've just put the filbert, it's number 4 filbert, just on its edge, and just like jabbing it in. And what I'm actually doing is pushing those bristles so they'll splay, a bit like what I do when I put colors or values next to values. And I'm splaying the bristles into that beard just so I don't get a smooth edge. As I say, this is burnt umber. Jeez, come on, Michael. Burnt umber, ultramarine blue, a bit of Pyro Ruben. That's the red I'm using. Sometimes I use alizarin crimson, but I've got a bit of Pyro Ruben on my palette and I'm just using it up and mixing it in here. Red's red. One thing I'll say about this is what we're trying to do with the woolen jacket. I think it just helps us giving the experience, wisdom and kindness and a person well lived. I think having a woolen jacket on him really does work. One thing I am going to say about, just watch their brush strokes for a minute, how short they are. They're very short brush strokes, and this helps create the texture that I want on the surface. I'm not actually trying to paint the texture of wool. There's no way I can do that. I'm not that good. And I don't think artists do. They trick you into believing it's there when it's actually not. But yeah, but by carefully rendering his hair and his shirt and his waistcoat and his jacket, you can actually get a sensitivity and a respect for him. And that's what we're always trying to do. You've just got to honor your subject. You'll see as I'm moving the brush around, I twist it as well. I don't just make I'm not painting a wall. So I'll twist it, I'll come at different angles. So even when my bristles are on the canvas, I'll be twisting them. Now I've got that dark on one side. I want to give my eyes something to bite down on, because it is difficult when you're this close to the canvas to see what is actually going on. Now, to get shadows, you see when I've painted that right hand side, I'll actually twist those curves. I've just left it like that. And it is a slightly different value. And I've just brought it back onto this side and just push it in there, random, really abstract brush strokes going on. What you're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do, is get that interplay of light and shadow, so I can get a depth and intimacy in this scene. And by using that earthly palette that we're doing and having those background details as they are, hopefully it's going to create a sense of place and a sense of memory, because this is one of my heirloom portraits that I paint for families. So the portrait, I will say, has got to be more than just a likeness. The portrait it's really a meditation on the character and his presence. And it's an invitation for the viewer to pause and connect with his humanity, in his life. So that is really what I'm trying to do here. And I really think that, as I move around, I'm just putting the darks in. You'll see that twisting and curling motion. And the darks dominate. So I want to get some darks in here. That'll allow me to get that contrast and create that illusion of the fold, so that you see that twisting motion of the brush. Here's one that I love doing. Look at that coming down, that twisty. I do love that. And it works so well, because this is the curve of the lapel of the jacket coming out of the dark into the light. It stops me getting anything even. It really helps with the abstract brushwork. And now I'm jumping around. As you guys know, I jump around all over my palette. The easel, I should say, the painting. I do not like to stay in one spot. You see all those guys, I love drawing. Now, some people say, you draw too much. Well, I disagree. You do what you want to do, and I do what I want to do, and that's my advice to everyone listening. That when you paint, you do it your way. If you love drawing, you like to put in the folds, and you like to put a bit of detail into your drawing before you start your painting, go for it. If you just like to paint with a brush or draw with a brush, go for it. Just enjoy yourself. There is no rules. But here's the thing. See that shadow line came down? See it's twisty and turning? That is going to allow me to make pockets to put lighter values in there to create the illusion of folds and depth in the jacket. Now, I just simply cut that over the top of the shoulder there. We're really after... Well, it's really a contemplative portrait, and I really love doing these types. It's about capturing Roger in this case, his quiet dignity and the warmth of him. And that's why I'm using subtle lighting and rich earthly tones to evoke that sense of intimacy. And that's inviting you to connect with his character. Now, you notice that shadow coming on his top shoulder there. No straight lines. I quite often joke. I've got friends saying, I can't paint a straight line. Fantastic. You're in great company. You've got an advantage over everybody because there are no straight lines. Notice I come at different angles with the brush as well. This is important when you're making these brush strokes. So when the light starts hitting the canvas, it's going to pick up those subtle shifts in the different textures you've put on there. All I'm doing now is I'm just going to draw a nice line across there. I'm trying to find the curve of his shoulder. Even though I do my sketching, as you know, I like to, sit back and look. I've just stepped away from the canvas. I've brought the camera away from the canvas a little bit, just so you can start getting an impression from a little bit further away. It's a bit easier to see what's going on. And I think it's one of the challenges for artists, and especially portrait artists and landscape artists and all as painters. We're so close to it. We're seeing all the brush marks and the ugliness, I suppose, and that's one thing that Mark Carter says. I'm a fan of Mark Carter's, paint ugly. Now you see what I'm doing here. I reminded myself to leave a little pocket there so I could put a different value in there and just put a subtle little hole there, little fold there, just where his lapel is, because jackets don't sit absolutely perfect. They're crumpled and they've got all shapes going on. And this is all I'm doing now. Very short strokes all the time. Deliberately no long strokes in this part unless I'm drawing an actual crease line. But the fill is all short strokes. And you'll see I'm twisting that brush. It's flat and then it will twist to its edge. That's giving me my different thicknesses. And if I want to get a line from top to bottom, you notice I don't just start at one and then just go in a straight line down. I will actually do a little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom, and slowly just fill it in. It gives it a bit more randomness, a bit more abstraction in there, and you're not getting it perfect. You don't want perfect. It just won't look good. And there's those very short strokes, I said, just filling in, twisting that brush, moving in different angles. Now, how great are these filberts? Look at it. I know I'm trying to work out the line. I wasn't happy with the first line, and that's fine. I'll just put that line in. I don't think I'm actually 100% with this line. But that's all I'm doing. So the edge of the filbert is great for drawing lines. So yeah, you can draw your portrait without using a pencil, absolutely. And here's that twisty motion. If you look it down here, put that little twisty motion in there, and what that will do will allow me to come back and just fill that little pocket there with a different value, and it will show me a different fold in the actual jacket itself. And then I will just start filling it in, and again pressing and pulling and making sure my brush is short, sharp strokes, very flicky. I want to try and put some life in this jacket, and I find when I just flick my brush a little bit, I seem to be able to create a bit more life into something that is, well, it's an inanimate object really, but there's a living body under there. And I really want to evoke that there's some muscle movement and there is a body under here, and it moves and it shifts, and it flexes, it does all those things. Now here's an interesting one. So I just put a little mark at the bottom there to say, hey Michael, put a fold in here. But you see, I don't follow it verbatim. I'm just painting what I want and what I see. And there's that twisty motion again coming down there. So as I'm looking at it, the lines are really a reference. And I think that's really important. And when you have your lines on your paper, don't be afraid to change your mind when you paint. Now I want to jump across the other side because I don't want my eyes getting fixated on one spot. I find if they get fixated on one spot, you can start going value blind or color blind, whatever you want to say, but you start getting monotonous. And that's when you get no variation, no abstraction. So I'll jump around the palette, I'll put some paint over the other side, just for the sake of me moving and getting my eyes so they're not staring at the same area all the time. Now I've got a bit of a pattern coming down here, so I'm just going to get a little bit of paint left on the brush. Not too sure what I'm going to do as in coloring with this, so I'll just put a couple of marks and say, yep, we're going to do something with that later. Now finding the shoulder line, and you can do this, you just find the shoulder line, look at the nice edges of that filbert. This is a number 3, by the way. And then I just draw that curl. And again, I'll do another one to try and get something. It's not going to be a fine as line as that one, but trying to find something that's going to follow that edge. So this is the thing that I think a lot of people trying to paint struggle with, and it's the patience of how long we're spending on these darks. You're looking at this and going, okay, I'm cutting out the palette mixing for you this time, and I'm cutting out my jumping backwards and forwards to the palette. I'm just actually showing you the brushwork. But, you do look and you say, how long is he spending? You haven't moved. Now, I do have 3 different darks that I do first. But I spent all that time on those darks before I shifted to this next value. Now, some people, when you're this close, see what I mean? Your eyes are going to go, oh, I don't know about this. But trust me, it's the right value. And we're going to do some on-canvas mixing with it as well. So I want that value there. And I want the darker tone to actually mix with it on the actual canvas. And I'll do that with the brush. So yes, I want it, that value. And it is correct. And it's the correct value. And there's that brush mark coming in. And that will just start picking up very, very subtly what I want it to do. Again, we'll just come down with some of that lighter value. Always putting the different value shifts as we move around, and try not to move too quickly from one to the other. And again, dodging around that canvas, not staying in one spot too long. I will say this, I have found that, when, especially even myself, when I very first started, I tried to cover too much area without going back to the palette and picking up a different value or a different color off the palette. And that is a danger, because you get something that looks very flat, got no life, and got no movement going on it. So my advice is, and I got this, and I think I mentioned it last time, a watercolor artist, and every time we went back to the palette, he made sure he picked up a different value or a different color or a combination. So he's always trying to mix, and you've seen me in my other videos when I go to the palette I'm actually picking, I might have all my values drawn out or made out, and I'm actually dipping my brush into 2, sometimes 3 of them before I'll actually come to the canvas with it. That's how I get those subtle variations that are perhaps not something I'm mixing deliberately, but I know that when I pop them together and just dab them onto the brush and then do the brush strokes, this is little vibrant flicks. I want life in this. They'll mix together and give me some really interesting subtleties. It's how I did the face, you know, and people say, wow, how do you get that subtle variation? So many. That's exactly what I'm doing. And it's exactly what I'm doing here. And as we just work through, I'm just going to fill in that crease line. You can see where that little pocket area was now. We're just at the bottom of the brush, to the left-hand side of my brush. And that was where I just cut it in to remind myself, cut something in there, Michael. Make it interesting for the viewer. And all I'm doing now is just popping in something. You see that little flick motion? I don't want long strokes. Just flick that in. I'll pick up some different values and I'll flick them in. And the flicking motion really does help me blend it as well. I guess everyone gets their own painting style. Let me just grab a drink, guys. So everyone's going to get their own painting style. What I will say about wool, though, if you can keep your brush strokes short, you don't have to worry about how am I going to emulate wool. It will come out as wool, as a wool coat. And so I'll just jump up again. I don't want my eyes or all the colors staying in one spot too much. You can actually see some of those different mixtures coming through. And just by using the edge of the filbert, I'm able to draw a line. Now, we drew that line in first. Do not worry as you come down and you blank some of it out. Look, lines appear, lines disappear. We hear it all the time in painting, talking about edges. Edges appear, edges disappear. Well, guess what? Lines and creases and stitching on jackets do exactly the same thing. They don't have to be, well, they should never be just a solid line. It will look fake. So yeah, put your solid line in first, then if you come alongside it with different values, if some of it disappears, fantastic. It's just going to make the whole thing look real. Now, this is what we talk about, and Mark Kaiser talks about, and quite a few artists, about painting ugly. I'm just putting it down. I'm not worried too much. Just popping it in. You have to be a little bit brave, because I think when you're this close to the canvas, you can start doubting yourself if you haven't had the experience of doing it. All I'm doing now, I'm just flicking the brush in the direction that I believe the jacket was going, and now I'm happy with that. I will move on. Now, nothing is going to look correct until the whole thing is finished, because your eyes are looking at one patch that's finished, then looking across, and it's seeing that even though the canvas is stained, it's a burnt umber titanium white mixture that I've stained it with. I just take the whiteness off, basically. But why it's showing through, look how bright it is. When I first started, it probably didn't look that bright. Yep, and that's what I'm doing. If you're wondering about the easel, by the way, I get asked about that. That's just a wall easel, and I call it a slat wall. I know they do have technical terms for them, but it's just some beading along the wall with an angle, and then I've got the exact same opposite screwed to the back. I will show you. I'll let you make a video and show you my easel. It's a complete wall easel. It gives me lots of flexibility for different sizes. Roger here, by the way, is a 20 inch by 20 inch on stretched canvas. And he's got a block screwed to the back of that stretched canvas that simply just hooks onto that wall easel. And I can move him up and down depending what I'm doing. Again, I'm just changing values, and now I'm cutting in. And I don't care if I got, remember that line I drew in before the black line? If I wipe it out, I wipe it out. I don't stress, because I can actually just put it back, and so can you. Nice and easy. You can see a different value coming in, that real short flicky stroke, and then we'll move away from there, because I felt like, oh, my eyes are getting a little bit much. And sometimes if I stay there for too long, what will happen is all the colors will just start to blend and all start to look the same. And the instant I see that, rather than try and fix it there and then, you will see me move away. And there we go. That's the top part of his jacket done. And I'll just step back so you can actually see what it looks like from a distance. And see, I'm just popping that line back in, and I don't really care if it goes all the way or not in at all. You know, it'll go in little patches. Yeah, and you'll just see some of it, and it'll appear and it'll disappear. Wonderful, look very, very natural, especially on a woolen jacket like he is wearing. That it's very important that you're not frightened. You know, you make sure your line doesn't continue, or else it's just not good. You might look at a jacket and say, but I can see it. In a painting, I find personally that it looks a bit false to just make it appear and disappear. There you see a different value being tucked in the bottom. Now, remember that little pocket that I left? I drew myself a little picture and said, you know, little square there, and said, leave that there. Don't forget to put a little fold line in there. It'll look really good against the jacket line, and then I'll just cut the jacket line underneath it. And this is just using the edge of the fill, but I don't use any rounds or anything like that. I find I don't really have a need for these small brushes. I think this is number 3 filbert that I'm using, so it's not really small. Then we'll just put a little bit of color down there, and now we're up into finishing off this side of the lapel. And you see, I'll just draw down there, and with that mark, now where it is, nothing wrong going back. Remember, this is aluminium, it's all still wet in wet, so I was able to put some more black in there and just pop that down to re-emphasize that fold. That's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for that fold of that jacket, and because I want it in a straight line, I'm using the actual edge of the filbert to draw the line down there. Now we'll move to the other side of the lapel. Now remember, this is folding over. Again, no straight lines. I know it's folding over, but get that wiggle waggle moving with that brush. Is that a technical term? Oh, I don't know. I just have so much fun with it. It really is. And I suppose the temptation would be this, my line actually drawn. You can see the line straight as anything, but now I'll go flat and I'll go on a point. And I'll just draw in the next value coming around. So I'm going to curl this around. I can just use the flat of that number 3 filbert just to just tap that down a little bit and make it a little bit more subtle, so you don't have to worry about anything. Just put your values in and just work your around. Now here's the next value we're going to pop in here, and this is getting pretty quick because this side is fairly easy to do. There's not as many value shifts because it's got the light on it from this side. So obviously we've had to lighten everything up as we come across. And I'm just using the flat of that filbert brush, that number 3. And I'll start having a look, and I'm just having a look at it and going, okay, move away from that, Michael, or you're going to get yourself bogged down and do too much. And you saw when I started to move off that crease line, putting that value away from the crease line, instant it was like, nope, move away. And see, the edge is not straight and perfect. Now I'll just put some of the value into this here, and we're getting pretty close. This is, I know it doesn't look like it, but we've done a lot of the jacket. We've got the main emphasis on that dark area there. Again, I'll just use the edge of this filbert just to cut the sleeve in here. Now this is one thing I've found with sleeves. You know, see that little kick that I put in the sleeve? Remember, sleeves don't necessarily follow the... When I very first started, I just put that as a straight line, then found if I put a little kick in it, like it's creased in, it just added more interest to the viewer. And there's that little curl coming in, because that's his lapel. And we're just cutting the lapel shape in here. And look how good that filbert is. I absolutely love it. It just cuts an edge, so no need for little small pointy rounds or anything like that. You can just do it with your filbert. And I hold my brush in so many different ways, and I hear people say you should do this and you should do that and you should do the other. Well, all you do is just should all over yourself. You start doing stuff like that, don't listen to them. You hold the brush as you feel comfortable with the brush. I know that when I'm drawing lines like that and I've got the filbert on its edge, I like to have it balanced between my forefinger and my thumb, and then the actual handle is resting up on my palm, and I'm able to drag the brush along and I like it. When I'm doing that, I tend to have it again on my thumb, my forefinger, my second finger, and I'm giving it some twists and turns. And you'll see when I'm painting, when I come back, if you see the hand, you quite often see my fingers twirling, and to give it that movement. It's those small marks I'm making. It's really, really important. So I am taking my time, even though I'm flicking, I'm not being, just indiscriminate with that. I'm actually thinking about where that value is going, and I'll shift the values up. Now here's one. This is interesting because I'll just put this value in, and I know it's like the cringe factor. Oh my goodness, it's way off. How's he going to fix this? That's why I show you the picture at the beginning, so you kind of go, we know it's going to get there. How did he get there? Just put that lighter tone in down there. And we're trying to keep those brush strokes short and random. And then I've just picked another value and just put it, because I want that highlight. You know, in a crease highlights where it's curling around, it will just give that illusion that it's actually curled around. And then we'll just put some other lighter stuff in the top there, so it's got something to bite onto. Again, just a number 3 filbert. I'm not using rounds or anything fancy here, just using the brush to cut it around. Now I've got a nice square flat brush here. I think it's a number 5 or a number 6, and it allows me just to come and very softly just soften some of those marks. And this is how I do it. So I put the value down that I want. I can do just 1 or 2, but don't go overboard with this. You just see, look how little of brush strokes that took, and that's done. That's how little of brush strokes. And when I used to first start off, I used to blendy, go way over the top. Now I've found just a few. Less is more. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the less perfect it is, the more perfect it will be. It will look actually great to people's eyes. Let's say we're getting down there. We're getting down there now. We're just going to put a little bit of values into here. And you can see close up, you can see the textural movements really close. That's why I've zoomed right in for you, so you can actually see what I'm doing in this painting. Because I think sometimes when we stand a fair way off, you're getting the actual what the viewer's going to see, and it looks great. When you walk right up to these, especially you come up to the old masters, you will be surprised on the brushwork. I was shocked. I was like, oh my goodness. But then it showed me what I was doing wrong. When I realized there was brush marks, there was textural movement, they hadn't smoothed, they had no blendy was going on. They really just laid down the color look at all the movement in that color, that with the light on that color. I absolutely love it. Never gets old, this stuff. But remember, it's not our ego. This is all about the client. So it's having a bit of confidence in yourself, what you can do. But yeah, there we go. There's the last few brush strokes, guys, going in right now. And there he is. That's what it looks like from a distance.
Well, thank you for joining me on that final stage of Roger's portrait. Yeah, painting his woolen jacket and some of those brush techniques that we use to create the illusion of wool without even trying to do that. Thank you so much. Hey, a big shout out to everyone that has subscribed to the channel. That is really, really appreciated. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do hit that notification bell so you know when more of these types of videos come out from me. That would be really appreciated. Your comments, questions, if you want to see me paint something, please put it in those comments below. I will respond to every single one of them. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.